From Eazy-E, who fearlessly challenged Suge Knight despite the risks, to Snoop Dogg, who maintained a defiant stance towards him, these are rappers who stood up to Suge Knight. Eazy-E. It's the middle of the 80s, and the hip-hop world is buzzing with tension. Suge Knight and Eazy-E were always rivals from 1984 until Eazy's untimely demise in '95. Now, you might wonder, what ignited this feud? Well, it all started with a fierce battle in the music industry. Suge Knight's ambition knew no bounds. He aimed to snatch control of Ruthless Records, Eazy's label, before he even set his sights on Death Row Records. The conflict got personal when Dr. Dre, a crucial part of the Ruthless family, wanted to jump ship and join Suge Knight's Death Row. What followed was pure drama. Suge Knight allegedly sent armed men, attempting to strong-arm Eazy-E into releasing Dre. But Eazy-E wasn't one to cower. He fought back, lawyering up and suing Suge Knight for extortion. Eazy-E even threw shade at Suge in his track Real Motherfucking G's, branding him a punk in a suit and a bodyguard. Tragically, Eazy-E's story took a dark turn when he succumbed to AIDS in 1995, just weeks after diagnosis. Rumors still swirl about his death, with some suggesting foul play, pointing fingers at the infamous Suge Knight. And then, stepping onto the scene, was Dr. Dre. Did you think the story with Dr. Dre had come to an end? He went from being an associate of Suge to becoming his worst nightmare. In '96, Dr. Dre parted ways with Death Row Records and created his label, Aftermath Entertainment. There, he discovered Eminem, a rap legend in the making. Dr. Dre's production skills also gave birth to hits for 50 Cent, Jay-Z, and Kendrick Lamar. Cool names, huh? Meanwhile, Suge Knight's Death Row Records went downhill, ending up bankrupt. Dr. Dre wasn't about to let Suge Knight hold him back. He sued Suge for over $3 million in unpaid royalties and defamation. He even took the stand against him in court. Now, as we already know, Dr. Dre kept on his path to success, making history in the process. And he's not alone. Ultimately, most of the rappers who didn't back down from Knight's abuses went on to have hugely successful careers. For instance, the next one, 50 Cent. Let me take you back to the early 2000s, when another fearless name emerged in the rap game, 50 Cent. This Queens-born rapper wasn't one to shy away from Suge Knight's intimidation tactics. You know, 50 was never someone you could mess with. Everyone knows he cheated death multiple times, got shot 9 times all over his body, legs, hands, arms, face, chest. You don't just bounce back to normal after a trauma like that. It changes you. You never let anyone walk over you again. So, since '03, he had a beef with Suge when he dropped his debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', featuring the diss track In Da Club. You remember that one, right? On that track, 50 Cent spat some fire, rapping, "I'm not down with the drama, you fake-ass gangsta. You need to move out to Atlanta, you soft-ass sucker. You're no West Coast rider, just another sucker. I'm down with G-Unit, we don't love them hoes, and we don't give a damn about you." But here's the kicker, the behind-the-scenes story of the In Da Club video shoot, where 50 Cent is training and hanging upside down. Remember that? Well, there's a juicy story about that, but I'll save that for later. Trust me, it's worth it. Back to the lyrical battle, 50 Cent didn't stop there. He even poked fun at Suge Knight for getting shot at a Miami party in '05, saying, "Damn, homie, in high school, you were the man, homie. What the fuck happened to you?" 50 Cent could laugh even in the face of danger. There was this one time when things almost escalated to violence. But after his near-death experience, 50 lost his fear. During a confrontation, Suge once got up in 50's face, looking for a fight. Not only was 50 completely calm, but he even went to his car and grabbed a gun, ready to protect himself if needed. After Suge and his crew left, 50 happily told everyone they wouldn't be back anytime soon. And he was right. Supposedly, Suge and 50 never had those moments again later on. 50 Cent never blinked, but tragically, another rapper who dared to defy the mobster had a very different fate. Tupac Shakur. Now let's talk about not just a man, but a myth, a legend. Tupac Shakur. Suge Knight signed him to Death Row Records in '95 after his release from prison. With albums like All Eyes on Me and The Don Killuminati, The 7 Day Theory, Tupac became the face of Death Row Records. But he wasn't exactly a loyal soldier to the label or even to Suge Knight. Rumor has it he was planning to bounce and start his own label, Machiavelli Records. It does not seem much of a coincidence to us that later in '96, while he was rolling in a car with Suge Knight, Tupac got fatally shot in Vegas. You know what's wild? A bunch of conspiracy theories have sprung up, with some fingers pointing at Suge Knight as the killer. What we do know for sure is that Tupac Shakur never bowed to Suge Knight or anyone else. While we pay respects to our rap legend, let's take a look at someone who doesn't hesitate to stand up for himself. Eminem, Bang M Smurf, an XG Unit rapper, revealed in an interview about a time when Eminem was ready to throw down with Suge Knight. Here we go back to that 50 Cent's Inda Club video shoot. As the story goes, Suge Knight once showed up at the set. Now, Smurf was a bit of a hyper warrior back then and was ready to take Knight down, thinking he could claim self-defense due to Knight's rap rep. But then, Eminem emerged, sporting a bulletproof vest, ready to go into action against Suge. Turns out it didn't start there. A former Eminem bodyguard, Big Naz, revealed that there were 2 attempts on the rapper's life in 2001. He explained that at the Source Awards, they had their first run-in with Suge Knight and his crew. Things got heated when they saw Eminem surrounded by Knight's men, and the other time, a group of 50 men was reportedly sent by Knight to Hawaii to get the job done. But you only need to look at the reality to see who ended up winning. It might sound unbelievable, right? Well, if you found that surprising, just wait until you see who takes our final spot. Snoop Dogg. What started as a business friendship ended with an attempted murder of Snoop Dogg by Suge. But since this is one of the most interesting, I'll take you to the beginning. You see, Suge founded the legendary record label, Death Row, home to Dr. Dre. Dre had a stepbrother, Warren G., who was part of a group called 213, alongside Nate Dogg, and of course, Snoop Dogg. Listening to a 213 tape, Dre got hooked on Snoop's flow. He asked Warren G. to introduce them. That's when Death Row signed Snoop Dogg, and they began crafting his debut album, Doggy Style. But with such a promising start, how did it lead to an attempted homicide by Knight? The fireworks happened at the MTV Music Video Awards in New York. In the midst of the intense East Coast-West Coast beef, Snoop Dogg made a surprising move. He publicly stated that he saw Biggie and Puffy, Death Row's rivals, as friends and would love to collaborate with them. This was seen as a betrayal, not just by Suge Knight but also by the rest of Death Row, including Tupac. From this point on, they treated Snoop like a traitor, freezing him out and showing disdain. After the MTV Awards, Death Row members were to return on a private plane. Suge Knight told Snoop to board the plane alone, with his security flying separately. Snoop covered himself with a blanket during the 5-hour journey, hiding a knife, fearing for his safety. Soon after, the tragic incident claiming Tupac's life happened. Then, a video showed Suge Knight assaulting someone, violating his parole, and landing him back in jail. This was the perfect moment for Snoop to leave Death Row and join Master P's label. Once there, Snoop launched a beef against Suge Knight called Pimp Slap. It's quite the twist that today, Snoop is the owner of Death Row Records. Isn't it funny? Suge Knight may have struck fear into the hearts of many, but these rappers, from 50 Cent to Tupac, Dr. Dre to Eminem, well, they just didn't roll that way. Intimidation, even of an Al Capone caliber, couldn't break them.